Hello everyone, my name is Ori Evans. I'm a film professional here in Dallas, Texas, and today we're going to be going over some Davinci Resolve coloring basics. We're going to set up what I call ground zero for all your grades. It has nothing to do with color theory. It's about how Davinci processes your image so that you can get the most out of your grade. So let's get started. By the end of this, you should understand how to set up all your grades before you even touch a color knob. So in the bottom right here, we have the project settings tab. You're gonna go to color management and you're gonna go over to color science. Now, color science, you have 4 options here. You have Davinci YRGB, Davinci YRGB color managed, and the 2 ACEs. We won't go over ACEs, that's a bit out of the scope of what we're gonna be discussing, but the Davinci YRGB and YRGB color managed are 2 different ways that Davinci decides how it's going to process your footage. YRGB tells Davinci, I'm going to do it. I'm going to transform all of my footage, which we're going to get into. They're called color space transforms. I'm going to do it all manually. Color manage tells Davinci, go ahead and change my footage for me, process it into the working space that I want to work in, and then process it to the delivery space. Now, you have to have footage that works with that. So you have to have raw footage like Red Raw or Blackmagic Raw. ProRes won't work. You have to actually know what camera that was shot on, and so you'd use YRGB in that instance. But the main difference is that color manage is automatic, YRGB is manual. And so I'm gonna show you the difference in the 2 right now actually. Now I have my timeline color space set up to Davinci Y Gamma Intermediate, and that's because that is the widest color space available inside of this program, and that is the main reason for using this program, because you have all of this flexibility and latitude to get the results you want. And so there are a bunch of different options in here, but like I said, Davinci Y Gamma Intermediate is the widest one that makes sense for us in most applications. So the output color space. This is important as well because if you're delivering to cinemas, it's going to be different versus most displays. Most displays are Rec. 709 Gamma 2.4, and that's what we use for the web or for TVs, literally most things. Now, if you're going to be choosing something different and you already know, then you're probably already aware of all the different color spaces and how to use them. But for most things, it's Rec. 709 Gamma 2.4. So we're going to push. Oh, wait. Well, I already had it set, so I don't have to push save, but you're going to push save. And what you're going to see is a flat image. Now, how do we get that flat image to something that our monitors can read? Because the cameras caught all this data in a way that preserves all the fidelity. Now, we have to transform it into something that our Rec. 709 Gamma 2.4 monitors can display so that we can color grade it accurately. So what you want to do is open up your effects in the top right corner. And like I said, I already have my stuff kind of set up, but I'm gonna take it away, trash it. Color space transform. You're gonna take that and drag it to your first node. And you're gonna see nothing's gonna happen. We have to input some things. So input color space is the color space that was used for your capture. Now I know this was shot on a Blackmagic because we shot it. And it was done, I believe, Pocket 4K Film Gen 4. And the input gamma, same thing. We had that on Film Gen 5, I do believe. And so what's gonna happen is you're gonna see the footage darkened. Now what we have to do is, that's our input. We have to now take it through the output. One more thing though. Our output color space says use timeline. Now for good measure, what I usually like to do is change this to Davinci Y Gamma. Same thing with our output gamma. But since our timeline is already within those spaces, you typically don't need to change those. So I'm gonna open up our output over here and I already have it set up. Davinci Y Gamma, Davinci Intermediate. Our output color space is Rec. 709 and our output gamma is Gamma 2.4 for most of our displays. And once I turn this on, you'll see it comes to a full colored image. And I do my color grading in between these two. And that way I know what my image will look like when it is outputted on all those displays. And I'm gonna show you a cool trick. Well, not really a trick, I guess it's just part of the program. So when I go to settings, if I were to turn these all off, and I go back to my project settings, color managed, and we take off automatic color management, and I go to HDR Davinci wide gamut intermediate. Why? Because it tells you why. Extra wide gamut log grading environment suitable for SDR and HDR deliverables, preserves maximum image fidelity and highlight detail. So it's just the biggest one you can grade in. And once again, output color space, Rec 709, scene, no, gamma 2.4. Scene is referencing something else. So then I'm gonna hit save. Now what you're gonna see is our image is gonna change into a Rec 709 image. Voila, magic. Now what's really happening here is the same exact thing we just took our footage through. So if I were to open up our gallery over here, I have a still. Now this still was taken from the previous transform we just did, the manual one. And what you're gonna see is that these are pretty much identical. So the one that's in the viewer right now is the automatic transform, and the one in our gallery is the manual transform we did. So I'm gonna go up here and put these and wipe these side by side. And what you're gonna pretty much see, well, they're not in the same frame, unfortunately. Let's see if I can match the frame here. There we go. So what you'll see is there's a slight change in the highlights. Look at this window over here as I swipe over. You see that? I don't know if you guys can catch it on YouTube, but it's very slight, and that is the only thing changing. And that has to do with the HDR function that I picked with the automatic function. But you can see that that is the only thing. They are exactly the same. And so you can reach this both ways. It's just about what's easier for your project. So just a quick recap, what we just did was basically set up our Davinci processing so that it knows how to read and how to interpolate our footage so that it can allow us to color grade it in the best way possible. And there are two ways to do that. You can do it manually or you can do it automatically. But that depends on your footage and your workflow, but you need to make sure that you're working in the widest space possible if you need to be, and that you're delivering in the correct color space. If you're delivering for HDR, then you need to be color grading under that HDR skin. If you're color grading for regular standard Rec 709 Gamma 2.4, you need to be color grading inside and under that skin. So just make sure you know what you're grading to, and you really can't fail after that. Your grade's gonna look like what it's gonna look like because you've already done the fundamental groundwork to make sure it's gonna come out looking correct. I'm Ori Evans with Ori Evans Color Grading. Thank you guys for watching. You should subscribe and watch the next video because there's gonna be more about the basics before we get into the immediate stuff, and then we're gonna get to the advanced stuff. But I wanna make sure we all understand the fundamentals of Davinci so that way we can have fun for a long time without having to troubleshoot. Why is my color not looking right? Well, did you set up your color management correctly?